On this now, let's bring in General YOSSI KUPERWASSER. He's the former head of the research division for the IDF military intelligence. General, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Talk to us about the type of intelligence that led to these latest images in the video and how the IDF can be certain of these positions where these tunnels are in.
Well, good morning. I'm not going to discuss methods and the sources, of course, but clearly there's a lot of work going on by the intelligence community in Israel. And the purpose is to be prepared for the next round of atrocities. And this is what we see once we collect information that Hamas, and this is not new for anybody, I think, locates its infrastructure within populated areas, taking advantage. It does that on purpose because it wants to take advantage of the fact that these locations are inside populated areas in order to defend itself, using the population as human shields. That's something we know all the time. It's good and it's important to expose that in advance so that once there's a need to do something about it, people understand why we do that. And also it's a good message to the people living around to leave these places, because otherwise they may be hurt once something happens. There's another question: why wait until there's another round of attacks by Hamas? Maybe we should do something about these facilities right now, because what we are doing right now is telling the people, look, there's a production facilities of rockets here or there, and we just allow them continue producing weapons and continue to produce rockets because we are careful not to hit the civilians. Wait a minute. Dear civilians, leave the area. Let us just take care of that.
So you're saying for these civilians to leave, but a lot of these people will tell you they, one, don't have anywhere to go, and Hamas will also respond during times of tension and say that they're actually not using civilian shields. So how can the IDF combat these the mixed messaging? And when there are such catastrophic images of war, how can the IDF win this messaging campaign almost?
Well, Hamas claim that they don't do that is ridiculous, because from time to time you see the explosions of all kinds of incidents and accidents that happen to Hamas, and they are happening inside populated areas, and people get killed, and this is a cause of unrest and dissatisfaction by the population of Gaza. So we know this is the case. I don't think that anybody believes the Hamas claims that they don't do that. The fact that the Palestinian population doesn't have where to run away from is a problem, but they need to, because if they don't want to put themselves in harm's way, they have to evacuate these places, and because eventually Israel is going to take action against them. So I think that's one thing that's very important. Now, do people believe in what Israel is saying or not? I think everybody knows that what Israel is saying is true. Mm-hmm. Some people are not allowed to tell the truth and say what they believe in, and for other political purposes, they have to say other things. We can understand that. Mm-hmm. We cannot justify it, but we can understand it. And this is happening all the time. But, we just saw yesterday in the UN the vote against Israel on human rights and women's rights, as if Israel is the only one who doesn't care about women's rights. Mm-hmm. This happens in the international community all the time. This doesn't mean that people do not know the truth about Hamas and what they're doing. Now, in other cases, we could have applied to the government of the area where this thing is happening and asked the government to take action. But the government in Gaza is Hamas, so you cannot expect the government to do anything about it.
So what kind of message do we think the IDF is sending by releasing these images now? Things have been relatively calm with Hamas. We've seen a few rockets come over into Israel, and then we've seen retaliatory strikes from the Israeli side from what Hamas says are perhaps lone actors operating there. But is Israel preparing for anything? Or are they just sending this out as a precursor for when the conflict does escalate?
This is a precursor, because I don't think anybody prepares himself to some round of atrocities tomorrow morning. Just a precursor that if something happens, this is where Israel is going to strike, and everybody should be careful, and everybody should take this into account. And that's a very important move by Israel, and I think it's critical to prepare the war on the media and the public opinion in that way in advance. This is very important. But it doesn't mean that tomorrow something is going to happen, although you never know. With Hamas, they can start something tomorrow without any justification and any real reason.
Mm-hmm. General YOSSI Kuperwasser, the former head of the research division for the IDF military intelligence. Thank you so much for your take.
Thank you.